The dry season turns the African savanna into a battlefield in a sea of flames. Reigning over the few remaining waterholes are armored giants, bearing one of the most powerful bites in the animal kingdom. But ruling the dry savanna are kings with thunderous roars. A king's pride can bring down prey 4 times their own size. Nile crocodile and lion. A cold-blooded creature, ready to lunge at anything caught in its spinning grip. But the king rules the land, and his razor-sharp claws won't let the beast run wild. In this clash, who truly holds the crown of power? Before getting swept into the fierce tussles along the riverbank, let us know where you're from in the comments below. We're thrilled to connect with you. And now, welcome to Crocodile vs. Lion. Why the river is never safe. A circling flock of vultures over the blazing savanna sky rings the alarm for an impending showdown. The body of a Cape buffalo, weighing nearly 700 kilograms, lies stretched across the wetlands. The scent of blood mingles with the musky presence of a male lion enjoying his feast. Its eyes flicked to the side, meeting the steely, unblinking gaze of a full-grown Nile crocodile, sharp teeth glinting beneath a half-open jaw. The lion tried to drag the buffalo meat farther from the bank, but the scent of blood was summoning something irresistible. The Nile crocodile charges in, mouth wide open, ready to seize the prize. It's prepared to push the original owner aside, clamping down hard on the carcass. The lion sprang forward with a thunderous roar, claws slashing across its rival's face. But the crocodile opened its jaws wide, aiming straight for the lion's leg, a raw, unflinching challenge. Neither backed down, but neither was reckless enough to test the other's limits. This moment captures, more vividly than ever, the clash between power and survival. Who do you think will come out on top? To find out how it all ends, stay tuned and join us for the most intense showdowns coming up next. Amid the whispering winds sweeping across the vast plains of the African savanna, the distant roar of a mighty wild beast echoes. Lions, symbols of strength and courage, are far more than just big cats. They carry a long evolutionary history, complex social structures, and a host of biological traits that leave humans in awe. Lions are the second largest big cats on the planet, surpassed only by tigers in size. A full-grown male lion can weigh up to 250 kilograms and stand around 1.2 meters tall at the shoulder. Their powerful, muscular bodies are built for hunting, combat, and survival in some of the harshest environments on Earth. Unlike other big cats like leopards or jaguars, lions live in prides with a clear social structure, typically led by one or a few dominant males and a group of females with their young. This close-knit bond forms one of the most complex social communities among mammals in the animal kingdom. One of the most recognizable features of male lions is their mane. Reaching up to 16 centimeters in length, the mane is not just a visual trademark, it's a biological symbol of testosterone levels, reproductive fitness, and overall health. Studies have shown that lions with thick, dark manes are more favored by female lions when choosing a mate and are less likely to be challenged by rival males. However, not all males have manes. In Tsavo National Park in Kenya, many male lions are completely maneless. These bear lions have adapted to the region's uniquely hot and arid climate, minimizing the risk of overheating caused by a thick layer of fur. Despite their majestic appearance and regal aura, lions actually spend most of their day resting. Biological observations show they can sleep or lie still for anywhere from 16 to 20 hours a day. This isn't a sign of laziness, it's a vital survival strategy. Each hunt demands a massive amount of energy, so conserving strength during the rest of the day helps them stay at peak performance when it truly counts. Especially in a hot climate with scarce food, this ability to regulate energy use is essential for survival. Another remarkable trait is their ability to hunt at night. Lions have specially adapted eyes that allow them to see clearly in low-light conditions. A layer called the tapetum lucidum reflects light behind the retina, making their night vision 6 to 8 times more sensitive than that of a human. As a result, most hunts take place after dark, especially during stormy nights, when the sound of rain, wind, and thunder helps mask their approach and lowers the prey's alertness. In Botswana's Okavango Delta, studies have shown that lions' hunting success rates can double at night compared to daytime. Lions have a diet that's almost entirely meat-based. As hypercarnivores, they primarily feed on large mammals such as wildebeest, zebra, buffalo, and occasionally giraffe, or even young elephants if the pride is large and coordinated enough. An adult female lion typically needs around 5 kilograms of meat per day, while a male requires about 7 kilograms. In water-scarce regions like the Kalahari Desert, lions have adapted in remarkable ways. They can go up to 4 days without drinking water directly, as most of the hydration they need comes from the blood and tissues of their prey. This ability allows them to survive in environments where few other carnivores can endure. Female lions begin entering their reproductive cycle at around 4 years of age. Their bodies, now strong enough to take on the role of motherhood, embark on a new journey of survival, not just for themselves, but for the next generation of life. Pregnancy lasts an average of 110 days, and as the birth approaches, they separate from the pride. Quietly, they seek out secluded spots, a dense thicket, a cluster of tall reeds, or a hidden rocky crevice to shelter the tiny lives about to arrive. At birth, lion cubs weigh only about 1.2 to 2.1 kilograms. With eyes still tightly shut and fragile little bodies, they are completely helpless in the wild. It's not until the seventh day that their tiny eyes begin to open, cautiously adjusting to the light. By the third week, their first unsteady steps emerge, early signs of life beginning to stir and take hold. During this time, the mother lion cannot afford to stray far. Every hunt is brief and kept close to the den so she can protect her cubs from lurking threats. To avoid detection, she frequently relocates the den. Each cub is gently carried by the scruff of the neck, a delicate move that preserves their scent and avoids drawing the attention of predators. Between the 6th and 7th month, the weaning process begins. The cubs start to leave their small, sheltered world and return to the pride's larger community. Within the pride, care doesn't stop with the biological mother. Several female lions often give birth around the same time, and they raise their cubs together in a shared system known as a creche. The cubs grow up like siblings, playing, learning, and thriving together under one communal roof. This collective model greatly increases their chances of survival, especially in the African grasslands where life is constantly tested by hidden threats and relentless predators. Beneath the thick mane and commanding gaze, male lions aren't usually the primary hunters of the pride. Their main role is protection, not only of the cubs, but of power, territory, and genetic legacy. They often live in small groups known as coalitions, usually made up of brothers or individuals who team up for mutual survival. These alliances allow male lions to take over and hold a pride for several years, until they're eventually replaced by younger, stronger rivals. Male lions begin developing reproductive capability at around 3 years of age, but it often takes another 1 to 2 years before they're ready to challenge a fully grown male. Competition at this level is fierce. As a result, male lions tend to have shorter lifespans than females, even though the species as a whole typically lives between 12 and 17 years in the wild. Life is not only challenged by outside predators, but also by fierce confrontations within their own kind. Territorial behavior is a defining trait in lions. Each pride controls an area that can range from 20 to over 500 square kilometers. These boundaries are marked with urine, feces, and claw marks, a biological signpost system that declares ownership. When those borders are breached, conflict can erupt at any moment. The goal is not just to protect food sources, but also to defend genetic control and the survival of the entire pride. Sound, especially the roar, plays a crucial role in how lions stay connected and assert their power. A deep, thunderous roar can travel as far as 8 kilometers through the stillness of the night. That sound is like a silent declaration. No claws need to be bared for intruders to think twice before crossing the line. A roar begins with long, drawn-out notes, ending in a series of resonating bellows, like a warning bell echoing from the very soul of the land. In the natural world, where life and loss are separated by mere moments, the finesse of strategy can be the key to survival. Across the plains of the Serengeti or the semi-arid stretches of the Kalahari, lions are more than just predators. They are living symbols of the art of collective combat. Unlike other big cats that tend to live solitary lives, lions are true social creatures. They live in tightly structured prides where roles are clearly defined. The males are typically responsible for guarding the territory. Most of the hunting, however, is carried out by the females, agile, swift, and nearly flawless in their coordination. This division of labor is what makes lions some of the most efficient predators in all of Africa. When hunting, lionesses often split into two groups. One group moves silently through the savanna grass, tall enough to reach above a person's knees, approaching the prey from downwind and keeping within 30 meters. The other group lies in wait at strategic points, spots where the prey might flee if it senses danger. Their communication is almost entirely through body language, a glance, a subtle tail flick, a slight tilt of the ears, just enough to signal without making a sound. When the moment is right, the final strike happens in a flash. A powerful burst of speed, reaching up to 80 kilometers per hour in just a few seconds, launches the lioness forward, her 4-centimeter claws locking onto the prey's body. It ends with a leap spanning over 11 meters, followed by a precise bite to the throat or muzzle. Beyond active hunting, lions are also opportunistic feeders. They're quick to steal meals from leopards, cheetahs, or even hyenas if the opportunity arises. This not only conserves energy, but also maximizes access to available nutrition, especially during the harsh, unforgiving dry season. However, a lion's physical power does have its limits. A female lion's heart makes up only about 0.57% of her body weight, while a male's is around 0.45%. In comparison, a hyena's heart accounts for nearly 1%, giving it better endurance. As a result, lions can't sustain high speeds for long. They can typically maintain a pace over 50 kilometers per hour for only a few seconds. That's why, instead of long chases like those of the African wild dog, lions rely on ambush tactics and precision strikes. There are times when a lioness holds a prey's throat for up to 13 minutes, long enough to ensure it won't recover and retaliate. According to data published in 2024 by National Geographic, coordinated hunting by lionesses results in a success rate of about 43%, significantly higher than the sub-30% average seen in other big cats. It's this teamwork and clearly defined strategy that elevate lions to the top of the food chain. But beneath the murky, bottomless waters, lions must still tread carefully. Beneath the muddy currents of tropical rivers, where sunlight barely touches the surface, lies a creature that seems frozen in time, unchanged since the age when Earth belonged to the dinosaurs. This is the crocodile, a symbol of survival, of silent power, and of an unrelenting predator's instinct. They are not merely hunting machines, but living proof of perfect adaptation across millions of years of evolution. Today, there are around 24 recognized species of crocodiles found across warm regions near the equator. Each species carries its own unique set of biological traits and behavioral patterns. The saltwater crocodile, found in Australia and Southeast Asia, is the largest in the world, reaching lengths of up to 7 meters and weighing over 1,200 kilograms. Meanwhile, the American crocodile favors coastal waters from southern Florida to Central America and is highly tolerant of saltwater environments. Yet across the vast wilderness of Africa, one species stands out for its raw power and dominance, known as the continent's top reptilian predator, the Nile crocodile. It is the embodiment of the river, the land, and the food chain it rules. With an average length ranging from 3.5 to 5 meters and a weight between 225 and 750 kilograms, adult males are noticeably larger than females, which are typically about 30% smaller. Some rare individuals have been recorded at over 6.1 meters in length and weighing more than 1,000 kilograms, comparable to a small car. Their thick, rugged skin is armored with scales as tough as forged steel, a natural defense that helps them withstand bites from rivals during territorial clashes. Though they are underwater hunters, crocodiles spend most of their day in stillness. As cold-blooded creatures, they regulate body temperature by basking in the sun, usually from around 9 in the morning to 4 in the afternoon. Adult crocodiles often sit with their mouths open while sunbathing to release excess heat, a mechanism much like how dogs pant. If forced to keep their jaws shut during extreme heat, they can suffer from heat stroke, a quiet, rarely mentioned end for a creature often seen as nearly invincible. Even while lying motionless, the Nile crocodile remains alert. Specialized sensors on its lower jaw detect vibrations on the water's surface, a highly sensitive biological detection system that can sense the presence of other animals within a range of up to 20 meters. This allows the crocodile to monitor its surroundings without moving, nature's version of silent surveillance. One of the most critical features on the back of the Nile crocodile is a layer of biological armor known as osteoderms. Each bony plate, hidden just beneath the outer skin, is part of a sophisticated defense system formed from calcium and shaped from within the body itself, crafted by nature for survival. From the embryonic stage, tiny centers of ossification begin to form beneath the skin, laying the foundation for a sturdy defensive shell. By the time the young crocodile emerges from its egg, its first osteoderms are already present, though still thin and not yet fully mineralized. As the animal grows and faces harsher challenges, these armored plates thicken, harden, and develop the distinctive ridges and deep grooves running along the spine and neck. In contrast, the crocodile's belly, where greater flexibility is needed for movement, has few or no osteoderms at all, as if nature itself understands where strength must yield to mobility. Each osteoderm is structured like spongy bone tissue, filled with tiny blood vessels that allow it to do more than just provide protection. It also supports metabolic and thermal exchange. This makes the armor function like a biological solar panel, helping the Nile crocodile absorb heat quickly while basking on sunlit sand and release it efficiently when submerged in cool river water. That's why, on sweltering afternoons along the Okavango Delta or the banks of the Nile, crocodiles can lie still for hours like motionless black logs, while in reality they are actively managing their body temperature with precision. More than just biological shields, osteoderms also serve as reserve mineral storage. During periods of stress, such as reproduction, injury, or food scarcity, crocodiles can draw calcium and phosphate from their armored back to meet the body's internal needs. That very armor is what enables the Nile crocodile to withstand powerful bites from its own kind, absorb impact during territorial battles, and even make a full-grown lion think twice before engaging. In clashes, predators often aim for the crocodile's sides or head, knowing that its back, fortified with dense osteoderms, is nearly impervious to teeth or claws. Considered an evolutionary hallmark of the Archosauria lineage, which includes crocodiles, dinosaurs, and modern birds, osteoderms endure as a living fossil signature. In the Nile crocodile, this structure hasn't diminished over time. If anything, it has evolved to serve even more functions. Many materials, scientists have drawn inspiration from this natural armor, its unique combination of hardness and flexibility, to design modern body armor helmets, and military-grade protective gear. At the macroscopic level, every ridge along a crocodile's back is more than just a product of evolution. It's a vivid record of survival. It is a gift from nature, etched into the armor of a giant reptile whose journey through life has been anything but easy. Amid the steamy marshlands and quiet rivers winding through Africa, the survival journey of the Nile crocodile seems to have been etched into the natural rhythm of life over millions of years of evolution. Each breeding season, the mother Nile crocodile selects a patch of damp sand near the water's edge to dig her nest. After hours of tireless digging, she lays around 25 to 80 ivory white eggs, covers them with sand, and leaves, trusting that nature will take care of the rest. But the deciding factor in the gender of the soon-to-hatch young does not lie in their genetic code. Instead, it depends entirely on the warmth of the ground. This is a mechanism known as temperature-dependent sex determination, where the average temperature during the middle third of the incubation period plays the deciding role. If the temperature falls below 31.7 degrees Celsius or rises above 34.5 degrees Celsius, the hatchlings will be female. Only within the narrow range between those two values do males emerge. When the moment arrives, a faint signal rises from beneath the ground, high-pitched chirps from within the eggshells, marking the beginning of their journey into the world. That's when the mother crocodile returns. Using her snout with remarkable precision, she gently picks up each egg, carefully rolling it between the roof of her mouth and her tongue to crack the shell, freeing the hatchling from its delicate calcium cocoon. With a tenderness that seems almost unreal for such a legendary predator, the mother may softly carry each baby in her mouth, one by one, out of the nest and into the nearby water, where their first chapter of life quietly begins. But the calm rivers are far from a peaceful haven for these tiny new lives. It's estimated that only about 10% of the eggs successfully hatch, and fewer than 1% of the hatchlings make it to adulthood. One of the biggest threats in the early stages comes from the Nile monitor, the largest species of lizard in the area, which can destroy up to 50% of the eggs in surveyed nests. Once they leave the nest, the young crocodiles must also face predatory birds, large fish, otters, and even wild cats. But the most formidable threat comes from within their own kind. Adult Nile crocodiles will not hesitate to swallow smaller individuals if given the chance. This cannibalistic behavior is common among many crocodile species, but in Nile crocodiles, it is especially intense, driven by fierce instincts and harsh biological competition. After surviving their first 2 years, if fortunate, young crocodiles will reach a length of about 1.2 meters. At this stage, they move away from their birthplace to avoid conflict with larger individuals, wandering along rivers, streams, and offshoot channels in search of safer grounds. Crocodiles of similar size often gather in small groups, sometimes loosely formed like a semi-symbiotic society. Once they grow to around 2 meters in length, they begin joining collective feeding groups, where the risk of being preyed upon drops significantly and access to food sources becomes much more attainable. The lifespan of the Nile crocodile remains something of a mystery. While some reports suggest they can live up to 70 or even 100 years in the wild, most individuals in captivity rarely surpass the 50 to 60-year mark. This biological resilience has made them a symbol not just of power, but also of patience and adaptability in a world where the vulnerable are often left behind early on. In the still waters of Africa's rivers, where the sun scorches every leaf and blade of grass, the Nile crocodile remains motionless. Beneath that calm surface lies one of nature's most opportunistic hunters, a crocodile capable of seizing nearly any animal that dares to venture close to its domain. The Nile crocodile is an omnivore with a remarkably diverse diet. They hunt everything from fish, water birds, snakes, and turtles to antelope, monkeys, and buffalo. Beyond live prey, they also feed on carrion, earning them the role of underwater scavengers. Recent studies show that Nile crocodiles frequently consume the remains of large animals, including hippopotamus, especially during times of food scarcity. These gatherings around carcasses can draw dozens of individuals, sharing a food source that, under other circumstances, might spark fierce territorial clashes. The hunting ability of this species relies not only on raw physical power, but also on a remarkably refined ambush strategy. They can remain submerged for up to 30 minutes when threatened, thanks to a circulatory system that regulates oxygen flow to essential organs. Under normal conditions, however, each dive usually lasts just a few minutes. This behavior allows them to patiently observe prey from beneath the surface, exposing only their eyes and nostrils, a design perfectly suited for silent ambush tactics. When the moment is right, a sudden, precise lunge makes all the difference. A powerful snap from jaws delivering up to 22,000 newtons of bite force, the strongest ever recorded in the animal kingdom, is enough to hold on to prey, no matter its size. Some smaller or semi-adult individuals have been observed using their bodies and tails to herd fish toward the riverbank, then swiftly striking with a head jerk to catch them in an instant. While cooperative hunting among multiple crocodiles is rare, it reveals the species' flexibility in foraging strategies. At times, crocodiles even use their tails to knock small animals off balance on land, pushing them into the water, where the crocodile holds complete advantage. The Nile crocodile is also well known as an opportunist, unafraid to snatch food from other predators like lions or take advantage of decaying remains when accessible. However, they tend to feed with surprising restraint, avoiding conflict whenever possible. Groups of crocodiles gathered around a large carcass rarely clash, reflecting a kind of practical tolerance when the food supply is abundant enough for everyone. The teeth of the Nile crocodile are not designed for tearing flesh like those of big cats. Instead, they are conical in shape, sinking deep into the prey's body and locking it in place, leaving virtually no chance of escape. If the prey is a large animal, the crocodile will hold it underwater until it drowns, then spin its body in a motion known as the death roll to break the carcass into smaller, more manageable pieces for swallowing. Let's take a closer look at the death roll. This is a spinning motion, like an underwater whirlwind, often likened to a living scalpel at work. No need for a finishing blow. No need to end the struggle before the meal begins. The crocodile deals with its prey in the rawest sense of intensity, starting its feast while the last tremors of life still echo through the flesh. This technique doesn't stem from frenzy. It is the result of millions of years of mechanical and physiological evolution honed to near perfection. Once the crocodile has its prey in its grip, it spins its entire body around its spine at a speed that can reach between 200 and 300 degrees per second. This spin not only disorients the prey underwater, but also tears through muscle, bone, and joints, breaking the body into smaller, manageable portions, even if the prey is still feebly resisting. A crocodile can perform anywhere from 3 to 6 rotations in a single death roll, and sometimes more if the prey is particularly large. Each spin may last between 3 and 10 seconds, but what makes it truly formidable is its suddenness and precision. With twisting force exceeding 2,000 newtons and jaw pressure locking the prey in place with up to 22,000 newtons of bite force, the entire process unfolds with such decisiveness that resistance is nearly impossible. What's truly astonishing is that Nile crocodiles don't need to learn this behavior. The death roll is an instinct present from the earliest months of life, much like how a duckling knows how to swim right after hatching. The spine of the Nile crocodile is highly flexible, allowing it to withstand continuous twisting forces without injury. Meanwhile, the muscles along the body and tail act as the main engine, powering the powerful rotational movement of the entire body. Even a body weighing hundreds of kilograms can spin like a propeller, thanks to efficient muscle distribution and a vertebral structure that, unlike in mammals, does not lock tightly, allowing for that explosive fluid motion. When observed underwater, the crocodile's spin creates no dramatic splash, just a small swirl, and then the surface returns to stillness, as if no life had ever been there. It's this very quality that makes the death roll all the more chilling. A deadly silence from a creature that has endured through waves of extinction. Amid the sun-scorched wilderness of Africa, the lion stands as the ultimate symbol of power and natural order. Once spread widely across the continent, lions today inhabit only about 7% of their former range, now primarily concentrated in eastern and southern Africa, home to 93% of the total population. Statistics from 2024 estimate the number of African lions to range between 22,000 and 25,000 individuals, with the largest populations found in the Serengeti of Tanzania, Kruger in South Africa, Ruaha in Tanzania, and the Okavango Delta in Botswana. They are especially well adapted to environments such as grasslands, savannas, and riverine scrub, where water, prey, and ideal cover all come together. Here, a brief clash between two top predators unfolded. A lone Nile crocodile was resting in the dry brush, an area frequently visited by lions. A pride of lions appeared, led by an adult male and a female, moving in closer toward the crocodile. Lions, with their powerful builds and rippling muscles, typically steer clear of adult Nile crocodiles, fully aware of the threat posed by their razor-sharp teeth and formidable bite force. However, in this case, perhaps driven by curiosity or sensing vulnerability in the crocodile, the two lions moved in closer. The crocodile suddenly sprang up, jaws wide open, releasing its signature warning hisses. The reaction startled the two lions, causing them to retreat slightly, but they remained close, watching the crocodile with cautious eyes. Aware it was alone, the Nile crocodile fought back with all the strength it could muster. It twisted and contorted its body, doing everything it could to keep those sharp claws from making contact. Encounters like this are not uncommon, but they rarely escalate into serious conflict. Both species are keenly aware of each other's strength and typically avoid direct confrontation unless provoked or caught in an unusual situation. But that doesn't mean lions are incapable of overcoming an adult crocodile. In another recorded encounter, a group of 13 lions surrounded a fully grown Nile crocodile. In times of prey scarcity, when antelope or zebras are hard to find, the pride is forced to hunt whatever it can, even formidable predators like crocodiles. Each lion clamped down on a limb, their 6-centimeter-long canines sinking deep into the soft tissue beneath the crocodile's armored scales. The Nile crocodile suddenly flipped onto its back, a natural reflex meant to startle predators or create an opening for escape. But sensing the moment, the pride seized the vulnerable spot at the neck, an area unprotected by osteoderms, and launched a coordinated attack. The Nile crocodile fell still, and the king had claimed victory. Young crocodiles don't stand a chance against a lion. In the water, they may dart and maneuver with ease, but on land, a single pounce is all it takes for a lioness to turn one into a quick snack. As in this case, it took just 10 seconds for the lioness to stalk and lunge at a not yet fully grown crocodile. By the time the dust had settled, the crocodile was already caught firmly in her sharp jaws. On the flat, dry terrain of the savanna, the Nile crocodile can reach a top speed of about 14 kilometers per hour in short bursts of 5 to 10 meters, lasting only a few seconds. However, the savanna is far from an ideal environment for maintaining that pace. When traveling farther from water, they don't run continuously, but instead move with a slow, dragging crawl, usually only around 3 to 5 kilometers per hour, especially under the scorching sun. At that speed, avoiding becoming prey to a lion is only possible thanks to the extraordinary advantages gifted by nature. A group of 5 lions, led by a large male with a thick black mane, a symbol of age, experience, and dominance, was grappling with an adult Nile crocodile in the brush just a few meters from the water's edge. However, the Nile crocodile began to perform the death roll, spinning its body with force while opening its massive jaws wide. The lions were forced to let go once they realized that the osteoderms, bone-hard scale structures beneath the crocodile's skin, could not be pierced easily. The Nile crocodile pushed back against 3 lionesses closing in from both sides, clearing a path to return to the water. Letting prey escape so easily isn't typical lion behavior, but the Nile crocodile knew it couldn't afford to show weakness today. Each time it turned back and opened its jaws wide, the lions were forced to step away. The lionesses, seeing their leader back off, could only watch as the near victim calmly made its way back into the cool water. Though both are apex predators, lion and Nile crocodile assess the risks of confronting each other with great care, and they usually engage only when there's no other choice. Perhaps the Nile crocodile is one of the rare predators that a lion chooses to leave alone when the battle takes place on land. With most other predators, the lion is more than willing to charge into the fight to satisfy its hungry belly. 12 lions in a single pride were surrounding a leopard. It was clear that this one-sided encounter would only lead to one outcome. The leopard lay on its back, struggling, but likely unaware that its throat, the most vulnerable spot, had been exposed in the midst of the hunters. The lions didn't rush in for the final blow. Instead, they used their claws to toy with the leopard, slowly draining its strength. As the leopard began to falter, a lioness locked in on its throat. With the last of its fading energy, the leopard clung tightly to its attacker's head, but no miracle came. But it doesn't take an entire pride for a lion to win. All it takes is one determined male and an empty stomach. He'll charge at full speed to catch his target, even if that target is a cheetah, the fastest cat in the world. The lion overpowered the cheetah with the full weight of its body. Using its agile front limbs, it delivered a decisive bite to the head, ending the struggle of its unfortunate prey. Another male lion arrived to claim a share, adding a bite to the cheetah's tail. The hunt was over. Across the African savannas, especially along major rivers like the Mara, Grumeti, Luangwa, Okavango, and Limpopo, 2 apex predators share the same habitat. The rivalry between lion and Nile crocodile plays out not only in the water, but also along riverbanks and wetlands, where both species search for prey and carcasses to survive. These wetlands are considered biological hubs, where wildlife gathers around flowing waters in search of hydration, food, and shelter. In that setting, the Nile crocodile lies motionless beneath the murky surface, while the lion stands guard on the bank, carefully weighing every movement. Though each holds its own territory, conflict between the two species still occurs, especially during times of food scarcity. Such conditions often arise in prolonged dry seasons, when the grasslands dry up and herbivores retreat to the last remaining water sources. At that point, not only does live prey become rare, but even carcasses turn into a valuable resource. Both lions and Nile crocodiles are known to scavenge. Encounters at the site of a large carcass, like that of a hippopotamus or buffalo, are common. A pride of 12 lions was gathered around the carcass of a hippopotamus. The scent of raw flesh hung heavy in the air. Beneath the water not far away, a Nile crocodile emerged. Its back, ridged with osteoderms, and its eyes watched the pride's every movement with careful focus. With a body that could stretch over 5 meters and weigh close to 700 kilograms, it had every reason to feel confident approaching the feast unfolding on the shore. The Nile crocodile showed no hesitation in the face of the lioness's growls. It knew it wouldn't be easily overpowered by the females, especially with the carcass lying near the muddy water's edge, where it held the absolute advantage. But as the crocodile drew dangerously close to the lion's meal, a deep, commanding roar rang out. The roar, estimated at over 114 decibels, came from the dominant male, serving as a final warning before violence would erupt. The Nile crocodile responded with a hiss of defiance, but it seemed to grow more cautious. Even with jaws that deliver a bite force 6 times greater than that of a lion, the crocodile knew better than to initiate a one-sided fight, especially when its opponent's pride numbered over 10 individuals. But in this situation, even as a male lion, he was alone beside the buffalo carcass. His eyes held a hint of unease as he watched a full-grown Nile crocodile lurking behind the brush. He began dragging the buffalo meat farther from the water's edge, but the carcass weighed hundreds of kilograms, and the scent of blood couldn't be hidden. The lion sensed the threat deeply. It had to act. It didn't hesitate, charging forward with a thunderous roar. Though larger and seemingly more agile, the lion was alone, and being alone sometimes means being limited. The Nile crocodile didn't flinch. It snapped at the carcass without hesitation. Even as the lion raised its sharp claws in warning, the crocodile opened its jaws toward the lion's leg, ready to strike if it had to. Neither side dared to back down, but neither was willing to risk it all. After several tense minutes of standoff, an uneasy truce seemed to take shape. Both held their ground, sharing the buffalo carcass like two rivals who couldn't stand each other but were forced to share a table. That's with a male lion, but what about a lioness? How would a Nile crocodile respond in that kind of face-off? In the wild wetlands of the Okavango Delta, one such encounter was documented, a gripping standoff full of tension. 2 lionesses charged toward the water's edge, where a Nile crocodile was trying to drag part of a carcass into the river. One of them was Sebe, her stomach empty, but her eyes burning with fierce determination. She was raising 5 cubs and needed a high-fat milk supply, something she could only maintain by consuming at least 35 kilograms of meat each week. The crocodile, nearly 5 meters long and weighing over a ton, was not one to give up easily. It clamped down on the meat, dragging it into the mud, just as it had done countless times before. But today, it was facing hunger and a mother's instinct, something no biological metric could ever truly measure. The struggle between them was taut, like a lifeline stretched to its breaking point. The Nile crocodile yanked hard again and again, but it couldn't overpower the force of maternal instinct. With one final pull, it tore off a small portion of antelope meat, leaving the rest to the two lionesses. On the savanna, where life and death are separated by just a single breath, strength alone doesn't always decide the victor. So what happens when the lion steps into the water, the realm of the Nile crocodile? Is it still safe then? The Nile crocodile is one of the most formidable reptiles in Africa, widely distributed from the Nile River basin in Egypt and Sudan to river systems in Angola, Botswana, and South Africa. They thrive mainly in freshwater environments such as rivers, lakes, swamps, and floodplains, places that offer abundant food and ideal conditions for both hunting and reproduction. For smaller prey, crocodiles can easily overpower and swallow them whole. However, when facing larger animals, they rely on sheer strength and body weight to drag the prey into the water, where they can drown it or tear it apart, sometimes with help from other crocodiles. They're also known for their ability to take down and feed on lions. Evidence of this has been found in the form of lion claws discovered in crocodile stomachs. A pair of male lions stepped into the water one after the other. They seemed hesitant, but the urge to reach the opposite bank drove them into the territory of the Nile crocodile. They swam slowly, alert and cautious, but there was no chance the crocodiles lurking below would simply let them pass unnoticed. The crushing bite force, tens of thousands of newtons of the Nile crocodile, sent the lion jolting beneath the water. The struggle split the two land predators in different directions. The lion that barely made it to the opposite bank lay there, gasping for breath after the brutal clash. The other turned back toward the original shore, its body trembling with exhaustion, quietly gazing across the water. There was no victory, only instinct and limits. But they don't always struggle in waterborne confrontations. In this instance, a male lion was swimming across a river in Kruger National Park with a large Nile crocodile in pursuit. It snapped its jaws just before the lion surged ahead toward the far bank. In just a few seconds, the lion escaped the strike and sprinted out of the water. Not the pride's dominant male with a thick, commanding mane, but he had passed nature's test with flying colors. What would happen if, instead of a lion, it was another predator lurking near the riverbank? To find out, let's follow this breathtaking moment. Even though it can easily outrun a lion, the cheetah may not react quickly enough to escape those razor-sharp jaws. A cheetah is quenching its thirst beside a seemingly calm watering hole. Then comes a powerful snap, sudden and completely unexpected. The cheetah panics, but the grip on its throat has already sealed its fate. The Nile crocodile uses its immense weight, hundreds of kilograms, to pin its prey underwater, draining its strength. The ruler of the swamp swims swiftly toward the center of the watering hole.